Welcome to today's story, A Trip to the Mountains. Join us on a journey through winding trails, peaceful forests, and breathtaking views. Let's dive into this adventure together.
Last month, I decided to take a trip to the mountains. I wanted a break from my busy city life. I needed some fresh air, quiet moments, and beautiful views. So I packed my small backpack with warm clothes, a book, some snacks, and a bottle of water. I woke up early in the morning. The sun was just rising and the sky was pink and orange. I took a bus from the city to a small village near the mountains. The bus ride was long, but I enjoyed looking out the window. I saw green fields, small houses, and cows grazing in the grass. When I arrived at the village, I started walking towards the mountains. The air was cool and fresh. Birds were singing in the trees. The path was easy at first and I felt happy. I walked slowly, taking photos and smiling at the people I met. Some people were selling apples and homemade bread. I bought a sweet apple and ate it while walking. After an hour, the path became steep. I started to feel tired, but I didn't stop. I drank some water and continued. The trees grew taller and the forest became thicker. I could hear the sound of a river nearby. I followed the sound and found a small river with clear, cold water. I sat on a rock and rested for a while. I took off my shoes and put my feet in the water. It was very cold, but it felt good. After resting, I continued my hike. The path was now rocky and narrow. I had to be careful not to slip. I climbed higher and higher. The trees started to disappear, and I could see the top of the mountains. Snow covered the peaks, and they looked like they were shining under the sun. Finally, after a long walk, I reached a viewpoint. I stopped and looked around. The view was amazing. I could see the valley below, the village I came from, and the blue sky above. I felt very small but also very happy. It was so quiet up there. Only the wind was making a soft sound. I sat down on a flat rock and took out my book. I read a little, but I often stopped to look at the view. It was hard to focus on the story when nature was so beautiful around me. I ate some snacks and drank water. I felt calm and peaceful. Later, I met a woman and her dog. The dog was big and friendly. He ran to me and licked my hand. We laughed and started talking. Her name was Anna and she lived in the village. She said she often came to the mountains to relax. We walked together for a while, sharing stories. It was nice to have company. As the sun started to go down, the sky turned orange and purple. It was time to go back. I said goodbye to Anna and the dog and started walking down the mountain. Going down was easier but also a little hard on my legs. I took my time, enjoying the cool evening air. When I returned to the village, the lights in the windows were on, and smoke came from the chimneys. It looked warm and cozy. I found a small cafe and ordered hot tea and a sandwich. I sat by the window, feeling tired but very happy. It was one of the best days of my life. I took the evening bus back to the city. I looked out the window at the stars in the dark sky. I thought about the mountains, the river, the friendly dog, and the peaceful moments. I promised myself I would return soon. Since that trip, I feel different. I feel more relaxed and more connected to nature. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still hear the wind and see the snowy peaks in my mind. It is a memory I will always keep in my heart.
Last month, I realized I needed a break from my routine. City life, with its endless noise, crowded streets, and busy days, was making me tired and restless. I wanted to find a quiet place where I could breathe deeply, walk freely, and feel at peace. So, I decided to take a trip to the mountains. I packed a small backpack with everything I might need: warm clothes, a light jacket, a book for quiet moments, some sandwiches, a few apples, and a large bottle of water. I also took my camera because I wanted to capture the beauty I would find. Early in the morning, while the city was still sleeping, I caught a bus to a small village at the foot of the mountains. The bus ride was long but peaceful. I watched the city fade away and the countryside appear, wide green fields, sleepy villages, and cows standing lazily in the grass. The closer we got to the village, the fresher the air felt. When I arrived, the village looked like something from a fairy tale. Small stone houses with colorful roofs, smoke curling up from chimneys, and people moving slowly through the streets. I smiled and started my hike toward the mountains. At first, the path was easy. The sun was shining softly, and birds sang from the trees. I walked with light steps, stopping often to take photos of the flowers and little wooden bridges crossing clear streams. Every so often, I passed by local farmers selling fresh apples and homemade cheese. I bought an apple and ate it as I walked, enjoying its sweet, juicy taste. After a while, the trail grew steeper. The easy walk turned into a real climb. I felt my muscles working harder, and my breath became faster. I stopped from time to drink water and rest, but I didn't want to give up. I knew the view at the top would be worth it. The forest around me became thicker. Tall trees stood like quiet guards, and beams of sunlight broke through the leaves, painting golden patterns on the ground. I could hear the distant sound of running water, and I followed it until I reached a small river. The water was so clear that I could see colorful stones at the bottom. I sat on a big rock, took off my shoes, and dipped my tired feet into the icy water. It was cold enough to make me laugh, but it refreshed me. After my break, I continued climbing. The path became rocky and narrow. I had to watch each step carefully. My legs were tired, but my heart was full of excitement. The higher I climbed, the more amazing the view became. Soon, the trees grew fewer, and I could see the snow-capped mountain peaks against the deep blue sky. They shone in the sunlight like silent giants. Finally, I reached a viewpoint. I stood there breathless, not only from the climb but from the incredible beauty before me. The whole valley stretched out like a painting, small villages, winding rivers, endless forests. The wind touched my face gently, and for a long moment, I just stood there, feeling free. I found a comfortable rock, sat down, and opened my book. I tried to read, but it was hard to focus. The peaceful sounds of nature and the breathtaking view stole my attention. I closed the book and simply sat there, enjoying the moment. After some time, a woman with a golden retriever came up the trail. The dog ran up to me happily, and I laughed as he wagged his tail and tried to sit in my lap. His owner, Anna, smiled and sat down nearby. We started to talk. She told me she lived in the village and loved coming up to the mountains whenever she had time. Talking to her was easy, like talking to an old friend. As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, painting everything in shades of orange and purple, Anna and I decided it was time to go back. We walked together for a while, then said goodbye and took different paths. Walking down was easier but still hard on my tired legs. I moved slowly, not wanting the day to end too quickly. I breathed in the cool evening air and watched the colors of the sky change every minute. When I finally returned to the village, lights were shining warmly in the windows, and I could smell wood smoke and fresh bread. I found a small cafe and ordered a cup of hot tea and a bowl of soup. Sitting there by the window, I felt a deep happiness inside me, the kind that doesn't come from doing something big, but from feeling connected to the world. Later, on the bus ride back to the city, I looked up at the starry night sky and smiled. I thought about the snowy mountains, the cold river, the friendly dog, and the peaceful time I had spent far away from noise and stress. I promised myself that I would return again one day, and next time, maybe stay even longer. Now, whenever city life feels too heavy, I close my eyes and remember that beautiful day in the mountains. It reminds me that peace is always waiting, sometimes just a few hours away.
Sometimes life in the city feels like living inside a box. Walls of glass and steel all around you. the constant hum of engines, the endless march of hurried footsteps. That's exactly how I felt last month. Trapped, restless, disconnected. I knew I needed more than just a weekend on the couch or a stroll in the nearest park. I needed real space, fresh air, and silence deep enough to hear my own thoughts again. That's when I decided to go to the mountains. I didn't overthink it. I packed lightly. A sturdy backpack with warm layers, a waterproof jacket, my worn but faithful hiking boots, a novel I'd been meaning to read, some simple food, and of course my camera. More than anything, I wanted to capture moments I could carry back with me when life felt heavy again. I left early, before the first rays of sun touched the city skyline. The bus ride out of town felt like shedding layers of an old skin. Skyscrapers gave way to small houses, houses to open fields, and fields to thick woods. The air grew cooler, cleaner. I leaned my head against the window and watched as the world softened into greens and golds. When I finally arrived at the village near the base of the mountains, it was like stepping into another time. Cobblestone streets, colorful shutters, the smell of bread baking somewhere nearby. Elderly men played chess outside a tiny cafe. Children chased each other around a fountain. For the first time in weeks, I let myself move slowly, soaking in every detail. The trail into the mountains started gently. Sunlight filtered through the trees, and the morning air was crisp with the scent of pine and damp earth. I walked at an easy pace, stopping often, to photograph a patch of wildflowers, to listen to the cheerful song of a hidden bird, or simply to breathe in the deep, endless sky overhead. As I climbed higher, the path grew steeper and narrower. Loose stones shifted underfoot. My legs burned, but I welcomed the feeling. It made me feel alive, present in a way I hadn't for a long time. I crossed streams that danced over rocks, their cold waters singing a song older than memory. I scrambled up rocky slopes where only stubborn grasses grew, clinging to life where few things dared. Hours passed, but I hardly noticed. Every corner I turned revealed a new, breathtaking view. Vast valleys stretching into the distance, their rivers glinting like silver threads. Mountains standing shoulder to shoulder like ancient guardians. Clouds casting moving shadows over the earth far below. At one point, I came across an old wooden bench carved into a curve of rock, perfectly placed to admire the view. I sat down heavily, grateful for the rest. From that spot, I could see the whole world unfold beneath me. It was humbling and strangely comforting. Up here, my worries seemed small, just tiny pebbles lost among giants. A few minutes later, I heard quick footsteps. A golden retriever bounded into view, tongue lolling happily, followed by his owner, a woman about my age named Anna. She greeted me with an easy smile, and soon we were swapping stories about favorite trails, hidden lakes, the feeling of losing yourself in nature and finding something better in return. Her dog, Max, settled at my feet, resting his head on my boots with a satisfied sigh. In that moment, with the sun warming my face and new friendship in the air, I felt an almost childlike joy, simple, pure, and rare. The day slipped by too quickly. As the sun began its slow descent, turning the sky into a canvas of pinks and golds, Anna and I parted ways. I stayed a little longer, watching the last light kiss the mountaintops, before beginning my slow journey back down. Descending was easier on the lungs but harder on the knees. I took my time, savoring every last moment. The cooling air, the smell of wood smoke rising from the village chimneys, the faint, peaceful sounds of evening settling in. By the time I reached the village, twilight had deepened. Lights twinkled in windows, and the sweet scent of roasted chestnuts filled the air. I found a small inn where an old woman served me a steaming bowl of soup and a thick slice of bread still warm from the oven. I ate slowly, feeling a deep, bone-deep contentment. That night, on the bus ride back to the city, I didn't scroll through my phone or close my eyes in boredom. I stared out into the darkness, holding the day inside me like a secret. The mountains had given me something I hadn't even known I was missing. A reminder that the world is vast and beautiful and full of quiet miracles waiting for those who are willing to climb a little higher to find them. And ever since that day, whenever the city closes in and the walls feel too tight, I just close my eyes. And there, waiting for me, are the mountains.